Good morning, scientists. I wanted to show you how you can dissect a flower. So I took a daffodil out of my yard. My daffodils are almost done for the year. I have some nice ones, but I wanted to save those to enjoy in a vase for a couple of days. So I'm going to take apart this older one. If you want to do the flower dissection, first I recommend sketch it out. So let's see what we have here. I have kind of a tube shape with kind of a ruffly edge, like that, right? And then it has some of the petals around the edge that I can see. And I'm actually not going to draw the middle. And the reason for that is I want you to be able to see what it looks like when we take it apart. I'm going to use a piece of wax paper because that way I'm not going to get any pollen or any wet moisture on other things. So let's look and see what we have here. On the flower, these outside pieces are called the petals. And if you look at the picture in your computer that I left you, here, let me show you a picture of that. There's all the pieces so that you can sketch this later when you're finished taking it apart. Alright, so on the outside we have the petals. And the long part here is the stem. And then we have some other parts that people don't usually think about. These little parts here on the outside are called the sepal. In this one you don't see it, but like this right here would be the sepal. And let's take it apart and see what's in the inside. What I want you to do, this works great with a tulip, is I want you to just gently tear your flower apart so we can see the inside. Okay? I'm going to tear it on two sides so I can pull that back. If you have a tulip, you could just pull back two of the petals so I can see the inside. Let's enlarge this and see what we have. On this right here, this long part in the middle, this whole thing is called the style. And this little bumpy part on the end, right there, that's the stigma. So see if you can find both of those. Those are the big ones in the middle. And then around the outside, you're going to hopefully find some of these smaller ones. With some flowers, those are different colors. On my daffodil, they're all kind of the same color, so they're a little harder to see in this. So I'm going to take them apart. So let's see what we have. On our picture, here's our daffodil. And this kind of comes down like this. And I tore off a section in the middle so I could see the inside. Okay. And then we had the stem, so I would label that in my picture. And just point to it. And then we had that one little dried up part. That would be part called the sepal. And in the middle, we had the one big one, and it's kind of got a lumpy, bumpy thing on the top like that. And we said that was, when we found it, the style. And I'm just going to point to it. And the end of it was called the stigma. I don't imagine you're going to remember all these, but you may remember a few of the names next time you take apart a flower, because I don't imagine this will be the last time. And what else? You know this one. What's this one? That's right. That's the petal. That's the easy one. Petal and stem are easy. And then the lumpy part kind of right here that kind of holds the flower together. When you find that part, that's called the calyx or calyx. And let's go back to taking our flower apart and see what we find. Okay, so we found those. Well, let's take it apart. I'm going to enlarge this again so it's easier for you. Look at there. I'm going to keep taking it apart. How many petals do you have on your flower? On mine, that was part of the center, so let's see. 1, 2, I'm just going to take it apart. 3, 4, 5, let's see. Come here, you. Oh, and 6. And I'm going to take it off the stem. It might be easier. There, now you can see that lumpy part. That's the calyx. But what's inside there? If you're doing any kind of dissection, die means apart or separate. So I'm going to take it apart. Oh, there's a part coming out. So if I take this apart some more, and I take this whole center out, I'm just going to take it apart. Let's see. There you can see it better. So you can see the middle, the style, the big one, and the end is the stigma. But what about these other ones? Count and see how many you have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's my style and stigma. And there we go. So these, you may have 5 or 6 or 7. And those little pieces are called the anthers. Anther. So this is an anther. Let's take a look at it. See this part here? The very tip of it is where the pollen often comes off. And this whole thing is called the stamen. The bottom's the anther. The top is the filament. If you have a tulip, you might be lucky enough to find pollen. Now this one, if I rub it a little bit, I'm not finding any. But this is also an older daffodil, so look for pollen. One thing really cool, if you find a black tulip, the pollen is black. Or a red tulip. It has yellow in it, but this might be black. So your pollen may actually come different colors. All right, now let's take apart. Remove that. We're going to dissect this part. We're going to dissect the calyx, because inside there, for the plant, is where the seeds would grow. So let's see if we can find what would be seeds. Just split it with your fingernail. And see in there? Looky there. So that's actually the ovary of the plant. It's where the seeds grow. And if this were going to be something like an apple, then after the flower's done, this starts poofing up. If it was pollinated by bees, that would open up and that would start growing, and that becomes your apple. Okay, this is the part that becomes the fruit or the nut. And if you take this apart, you're going to see in here, this whole thing is called the ovary, and all these are the little eggs that become the seeds of the plant. Now daffodils are kind of odd in that they don't grow a new plant from the seeds. They grow from a bulb in the bottom. But a lot of plants, this is the part that becomes your next plant. So let's finish our drawing, and then I want you to go do one. Here we go. Here's how far we are so far. And we need to draw in our anthers, and they were kind of like that. Okay, so we had 6 of those. So I had 1 stigma. Here, let's expand this. I had 1 style. I had 1 calyx. I had 1 stem. I had 1 sepal. I had 6 petals on my flower. You might have a different amount. And then these guys, let's draw. I'm going to draw a line all the way down here so I can write. This was the stamen. You could also do an enlargement. The whole thing is a stamen, but this part was the anther. Oh, sorry, I did that wrong. That's the anther. This part is the filament. And then if you wanted, you could color your dissection to match the flower that you took apart. Now, bigger flowers are better. I suggest a daffodil or a tulip. But anytime you're hiking, you can find any flower and carefully take it apart and see if you can find those pieces in there. You should know the stem. You should know petal. And the stigma is the big one in the middle that's easy to find. The stigma is the top. The rest is called the style. The whole thing is the style. So those are easy. And then those little ones are the stamen. That's the part that produces the pollen. Just wanted to share that with you. Go do one. Bye.